The chamber of the Zorthan High Council was bathed in an eerie violet glow, reflecting the collective anxiety of its members. The vast, circular room was lined with floating platforms, each occupied by a figure of immense power. Military commanders, science officers, and governing officials, all gathered in response to a singularly perplexing report. In the center, towering over the assembly, stood Commander VX, his 4 upper appendages gesturing wildly, while his lower limbs remained perfectly still, a sure sign of agitation among the Zorthan species. Humans are, without question, the most baffling species we have ever encountered, VX declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. In over 3,000 studied civilizations, never have we seen anything like them. A murmur spread through the council. The Zorthans were meticulous, methodical, and logical beings. Their knowledge of the cosmos was vast, their ability to predict the behaviors of other species near perfect. Yet, the humans defied logic. They did not follow patterns. They were an anomaly, a dangerous one. Supreme Counselor 6, her bioluminescent skin flashing with intrigue, leaned forward. Your preliminary report mentioned contradictions, Commander. Elaborate. She paused, allowing a moment of tension to build before adding, preferably before the next cosmic expansion cycle begins. A ripple of harsh, clicking laughter filled the chamber. But Commander VX did not smile. Instead, he activated a holographic display with a flick of his sensory tentacle, projecting images of Earth in stunning detail. The Zorthan Council members watched in silence as scenes from human civilization played out before them. Children played in parks, their laughter ringing through the air. Soldiers trained in formation, their eyes filled with purpose. Surgeons cut into their own kind, their hands steady and precise. Engineers constructed towering skyscrapers, while others built devastating weapons capable of planetary annihilation. VX's exoskeleton darkened to a shade of deep blue. Zorthan body language for extreme concern. Observe, he said, punctuating each word with a sharp tap against the console. They inflict pain upon themselves to achieve what they call fitness. They consume toxic substances for pleasure. They create automation to ease their labor, yet panic at the thought of losing purpose to the very machines they create. Their existence is riddled with contradictions. A new image flickered into view. An aerial view of Earth at night. Millions of tiny pinpricks of light illuminated the darkness, revealing a planet covered in vast, sprawling cities. But the most unfathomable part, VX continued, is that they have never unified. They remain divided by invisible lines they call borders. They war amongst themselves endlessly, and yet, he gestured towards a different image, this time showing the human relief effort in the aftermath of a disaster. When disaster strikes, they come together in ways that defy their own divisions. General Krax, the head of the Zorthan Defense Forces, leaned forward, his reptilian voice like gravel being crushed. Are they a threat? VX hesitated. They pour enormous resources into warfare, he admitted, but equally into healing. Their medical facilities are extensive and found in every corner of the planet. Their advancements in genetics, prosthetics, and neurology have surpassed even our own in some areas. And yet, they remain unpredictable. One moment, they compose poetry about the stars. The next, they seek to harness those same stars to create weapons capable of destroying entire civilizations. The Supreme Counselor's eye stalks extended fully, a rare sign of deep contemplation. Your recommendation, Commander. VX's voice grew firm. Continued observation. From a safe distance. These humans are unlike anything we've encountered before. If provoked, I cannot predict their response. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Then, finally, the Supreme Counselor spoke. Proceed with caution, Commander, but prepare a comprehensive threat assessment protocol, just in case. Observation deck, Zorthan scout ship, Nebula Seeker, high orbit over Earth. The scout ship hung silently in the darkness of space, its advanced cloaking systems rendering it invisible to human detection. Inside, Science Officer Jex adjusted the sensitivity of the observation probes for the 12th time, his frustration evident. "This can't possibly be correct," he muttered, his bioluminescent skin shifting to a puzzled shade of green. Lieutenant Prey, still sporting the vibrant orange hue of youth, tapped rapidly at the console. "Analysis confirms it, sir. These are their medical facilities." Before them, multiple screens displayed live feeds from Earth's hospitals. Doctors and nurses moved with urgency, tending to injured humans. Machines beeped and whirred, monitoring vital signs. Surgical tools sliced into exposed flesh, while blood was drained, replaced, and transfused through tubes. Jex recoiled, his epidermis shifting to a disturbed yellow-green. They're cutting into their own species with primitive metal tools. They're inserting foreign objects into their bodies. Pre swallowed hard. Those tubes, they're draining fluids from some and pumping unknown substances into others. At that moment, Commander VX entered the observation deck, his posture rigid with concern. "Report." Jex turned to face him, his sensory tendrils twitching with unease. "Commander, I believe we've grossly misunderstood human civilization." He gestured toward the screens. "These facilities we thought were for healing. They appear to be elaborate torture chambers." VX stared at the footage, his exoskeleton shifting colors in rapid succession. Shock, confusion, then grim realization. "Send word to the High Council," he ordered. "Tell them, we may have made a mistake." Outside, in the vast expanse of space, the Nebula Seeker continued its silent watch over Earth, unaware that its presence would soon become known. And when it did, the humans would not react kindly. Inside the Zorthan scout ship, Nebula Seeker, tension rippled through the observation deck like a slow-building storm. The advanced vessel remained cloaked in high orbit above Earth, its crew watching the planet with the wary curiosity of explorers peering into an unknown abyss. Science Officer Jex leaned closer to his console, his skin flashing a shade of deep violet. Zorthan body language for escalating concern. His sensory tendrils twitched as he scrutinized the incoming data feeds, unwilling to believe what he was seeing. "They do this willingly," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "They place their own kind onto tables, cut into them with crude instruments, and then attach mechanical parts to their bodies. Some of them have wires, actual wires, running through their limbs." Lieutenant Prey, his youthful inexperience evident in his erratic color shifts, gulped audibly. "Commander, look at this," he said, pointing to a different feed. "This one, they've replaced an organic limb with an artificial construct." The screen showed a human male lying unconscious on an operating table, his lower arm severed just below the elbow. Instead of despair or horror, the humans standing around him moved with precise, methodical intent. A surgeon guided a robotic arm into place, seamlessly attaching it where flesh had once been. The metal limb twitched, then clenched into a fist. Jex recoiled instinctively. They replaced their own bodies with machines. Pre nodded. "Not just limbs, sir. Look." He brought up more footage. Organs, bones, even parts of their brains. Jex's epidermis flickered with a sickly green hue. This is beyond disturbing. These creatures, they don't just heal. They rebuild themselves. Commander VX had been silently observing, but now, his exoskeleton darkened to a shade of deep indigo, a color reserved for grave danger. "Explain," he ordered. Jex turned to face him, his appendages curling inward in a sign of unease. "Sir, our initial assumption was that these were healing facilities. We were wrong. These are modification centers. These beings don't merely repair damage. They enhance themselves. Their organic components are failing them, so they are slowly replacing them with something else. Something stronger, more resilient, and potentially more dangerous than before." VX's posture stiffened. "Are you suggesting they are willingly converting themselves into something non-organic?" Jex hesitated, then gave a slow nod. "Not all at once. But at this rate, sir, in a few generations, they may no longer be the species we first observed. They may become something else. VX turned sharply to his second-in-command. Contact the High Council. They need to hear this immediately. Zorthan High Council Chambers. Zorthan Prime. Core System. Thousands of light-years away, the High Council of Zorthan convened once more in their vast, circular chamber. The violet glow that normally illuminated their meetings had dimmed into a deep maroon, an unspoken signal of mounting unease. Commander VX's holographic projection flickered into existence in the center of the chamber. His image towered over the gathered officials, who studied him with intense scrutiny. Supreme Counselor 6 leaned forward, her eye stalks extended fully, a clear sign of concern. "Commander," she greeted, her tone clipped. "Your report has arrived. The Council has reviewed your findings. Clarify one matter for us." VX's exoskeleton rippled with anxiety. "Of course, Counselor." 6 gestured, and a massive projection materialized above the chamber, displaying the same unsettling footage from Earth's medical facilities. The Council of 22, the most powerful Zorthans in the galaxy, watched in complete silence. VX took a breath before continuing. "We have made an error in our initial assessment. These facilities are not strictly for healing. They are centers for biological augmentation. The humans do not merely restore function to injured individuals, they improve them." A hush fell over the chamber. "Explain," 6 ordered. VX's voice was grave. "They are deliberately modifying themselves, replacing their weak, organic structures with superior materials. They are not just a civilization that survives. They are one that evolves itself beyond natural limitations. Every generation of human is stronger than the last. If left unchecked, they may become an entirely different species, one unrecognizable from their original biological form." A wave of murmurs spread through the council members. General Krax, the aged head of the Zorthan Defense Forces, clicked his mandibles together, a deep guttural sound. "So, they are preparing for war." VX hesitated. "Not directly, but their pattern of behavior suggests a species in constant preparation for conflict. They may not be at war with another civilization right now, but they are at war with themselves. And the key takeaway is this, Supreme Counselor: if we provoke them, they will focus their entire evolutionary drive on us." The chamber darkened to a deeper shade of maroon. The warning had been given. 6's tendrils twitched. "We must decide then. Do we allow them to continue this path, or do we intervene before it is too late?" The room fell into silence once more. Every official in attendance knew what she was truly asking. This was no longer a mere observation mission. This was a question of survival. General Krax was the first to speak. "I recommend a containment strategy. Their planet is still largely primitive. We have the capability to prevent them from expanding beyond their current system." Science Minister Zeph, her bioluminescent scales shimmering in mourning, interjected. "Containment is dangerous. If they detect us, they will retaliate. They have proven unpredictable in every other aspect. We do not know what their response will be if they realize they are being restricted." Krax gave a grim nod. "Then we must strike before they are capable of striking back." VX's body flared in protest, shifting to an alarmed shade of bright red. "With all due respect, General, an attack would be the worst course of action. Every historical account of their conflicts shows that humans unite under a single cause when faced with an external threat. If we strike first, we will forge their divided factions into one force against us." The Supreme Counselor held up a single appendage, demanding silence. "This discussion is premature," she said firmly. "Commander VX, you will continue your surveillance and update us immediately should anything change. In the meantime, I want all divisions of our military and intelligence sectors preparing for the worst-case scenario. If they do evolve into something beyond our ability to contain." Her eyes glowed with a fierce intensity. "Then we will have no choice but to eliminate them." VX's body remained stiff, his mind racing. He had seen enough of humanity to know this. If the Zorthans made the first move, it would be the last mistake they ever made. Little did he know, that mistake was already inevitable. The Zorthan High Council chamber was silent, save for the faint hum of the environmental systems. A deep, pulsing maroon glow bathed the gathered officials, a reflection of the grave decision before them. Supreme Counselor 6 extended her eye stalks fully, her elongated face unreadable as she regarded the holographic projection of Commander VX. For several agonizing moments, no one spoke. Then, General Krax broke the silence. His mandibles clicked sharply, the sound carrying through the chamber like the snap of a war drum. "It is clear, then," he rumbled. "The humans are not merely a species. They are a weapon in the making." Science Minister Zuff, her bioluminescent patterns flashing erratically, scoffed. "That is an assumption. They are not militarizing themselves. They are adapting to their environment." Krax turned his massive frame toward her, his exoskeleton darkening to a deep, battle-worn gray. "You call it adaptation. I call it preparation. They are preparing for something, Minister. The question is, are we the target?" A low murmur rippled through the council. VX's hologram flickered as he shifted position. "I do not believe they are currently aware of our presence," he said carefully. "But that does not mean we are safe. This species does not need a unified government to become a threat. Their competitive nature fuels their progress, and their innovations are spreading at an exponential rate. If we wait too long to act, we may lose the opportunity to do so at all." 6 exhaled slowly, her facial plates twitching as she processed the information. "Then we have 3 options," she stated. "Observe, intervene, or eliminate." The word hung in the air like a specter. Zuff recoiled. "You suggest extermination of an entire sentient race. That is genocide, Counselor." Krax leaned forward. "It is survival." Minister Drak, the oldest among them, finally spoke, his voice low and measured. "Perhaps we are missing a greater question." His eye stalks swiveled toward VX. "Commander, you claim they are unpredictable, that they are fragmented, that they advance through competition rather than unity. Tell me this, if they ever did unify, what would they become?" The room darkened further, an unspoken signal of shared concern. VX's exoskeleton rippled with an uneasy shade of indigo. "I do not know," he admitted, "but I suspect that if that day ever comes, they will be unstoppable." 6's tendrils curled inward, the Zorthan equivalent of clenching a fist. "We cannot allow that to happen." Zeph flared her bioluminescence in protest. "We have no right to interfere. Have you forgotten what happened with the Selvari Dominion? We underestimated them. We struck first, and we were nearly wiped from the stars because of it. If we attack without cause, we could create the very threat we seek to prevent." Krax's mandibles tightened, "Or we could end it before it begins." A hush fell over the council. 6 turned to VX. "Commander, if you were to draft a strategy, how would we strike?" VX hesitated, his mind racing through the implications. "The humans are resilient," he said carefully. "A direct assault would fail. They do not submit to superior firepower. If we wish to neutralize them before they become a true danger, we must strike at their greatest weakness." "And what is that?" VX's colors dimmed. "They're healers." A stunned silence fell over the chamber. Zuff recoiled. "You would attack their medical facilities." VX nodded gravely. "Consider what we have observed. They fight among themselves constantly, yet they protect their healers above all else. Their wars may divide them, but the moment their ability to mend, repair, and improve is threatened, they unify. If we eliminate their medical infrastructure, their ability to recover, adapt, and evolve will be crippled. They will descend into chaos, and their advancement will slow to a halt." 6 pondered this for a moment. "It would not be a war," she murmured. "It would be a surgical strike." Krax's mandibles twitched approvingly. "A precise decapitation. No need for planetary invasion. No need for prolonged conflict. We sever their ability to heal, and their evolution stops. Zeph still looked horrified. And if we are wrong? If they retaliate, HFY's exoskeleton darkened. Then we may learn what truly happens when humans unite. For several moments, no one spoke. Then, Six made her decision. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered. "We strike first." And with that, the fate of Earth was sealed.